honorable guests, esteemed speakers, partners, and all attendees. Journalists are typically not very good at this protocol thing, but I will do something that is typically Kenyan and to say all protocols observed. I got that right. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the Earthwise Summit 2024, which is really the second edition of this that we started last year. Now, as we gather to discuss one of the most consequential crises of our time, and that is climate change. And in this second edition of Earthwise, we focus on the questions of equity, innovation, and resilience in the face of climate change. As a media house that has excelled in both the craft and the art of communication, we are deeply mindful of our role in this conversation because we know that the media has always played a central role in shaping the trajectory of environmental discourse and action. And as a student of the global environmental movement, I recognize that the power of communication has been central to environmental awareness for several decades now. Indeed, long before climate change became the global emergency it is today, communication was already a major factor in driving change. Whether it was the early conservation efforts to the endangered species that people talked about many years ago, campaigns to halt deforestation, the impact of clear and compelling messages has remained undeniable. In the 1960s, for instance, American biologist and nature writer Rachel Carson penned the groundbreaking book Silent Spring, which fundamentally altered how the world understood humanity's impact on nature. Carson's writing was more than a specific critique. It was a compelling narrative that touched the hearts and minds of people around the globe. Her work underscored the idea that the environment is not just a scientific or political issue, but one that is deeply connected to human life and society. Through storytelling, she inspired a wave of environmental awareness that led to the banning of DDT and the creation of modern environmental policies. Now, since then, the art of environmental storytelling has evolved into an essential tool for driving awareness, policy change, and even action. At the Nation Media Group, we recognize the importance of using our platforms to continue the legacy of impactful storytelling. The media is a powerful force, not only for informing, but also for mobilizing action. In today's interconnected world, where climate change is no longer a distant threat, but a present reality, we strive to ensure that our narratives are inclusive, solution-oriented, and driven by equity. As we stand here today, surrounded by the beauty of the national park, we are reminded of the fragile balance between human progress and the environment. The African continent, though contributing the least to the global emissions, is bearing the greatest burden. And many of you in this room have done a lot of work to demonstrate that. Yet, Africa is also a source of remarkable resilience and climate innovation, some of which we'll be hearing about in this summit and celebrating. We are also seeing community-driven conservation, youth-led climate advocacy, and innovations in renewable energy, all of which are helping to chart a sustainable future for our continent. But as we innovate, we must also remain steadfast in our pursuit of equity. And that is indeed a big conversation, particularly in the African continent and the rest of the developing world. Climate change disproportionately affects the most vulnerable populations, especially women, youth, and indigenous communities who are often left behind in the global climate agenda. Now, as we discuss solutions, therefore, we must commit ourselves to ensure that no one is excluded from the benefits of the sustainable future that we are looking for. Now, the stakes have never been higher, ladies and gentlemen. As we head into COP29, we must be focusing on ensuring that climate change, adaptation, and just transitions for vulnerable communities remain at the center of global negotiations. The decisions that are made at Baku will impact generations to come, and we must endeavor to bring to the table the stories and solutions that are emerging from the front lines of the climate crisis here in Africa. Through Earthwise, which, as I mentioned, we hold every year, just a few weeks to the COP, we aim to continue shaping not only public opinion, but also policy conversations. And this is happening, as I mentioned, at a critical moment in our history. From here, we hope that the journey to Baku will be that much richer with the insights, expertise, and ideas that will be shared at this summit. Let us therefore approach the next 2 days with a deep sense of purpose and urgency, knowing that this idea is one that is embedded in the sense of emergency that I talked about. Time really is not on our side. Together, we can drive the change needed to secure an equitable and sustainable future for all of us. I thank you most sincerely for coming here.